Perfect. All right, Lily. So we've had a couple of holes there to warm up and a little bit of a time for me to analyse your game. And I think we've come across a fantastic scenario here to talk through. I think a lot of people get really, really fixated sometimes on why the ball starts to move. Now, obviously, technique is a massive, massive part of that, but another part of it when we're talking on a course management style things is also a little bit about slope. Okay, so there's this scenario here that we've encountered. You've hit a fantastic drive right down the middle of the fairway, and as I'm in this position, you can see that I'm slightly elevated from where you're standing, okay? So typically on the golf course, you're going to have a mixture of slopes. You're going to have scenarios like we have here, where the ball is above your feet, and we also sometimes have scenarios where the ball is below your feet. Now, when we talk about these two examples, it's really important that we understand a simple factor, and that is how that affects the way that the ball starts to curve. So we can see here, this is an example as explained, where the ball is above your feet. So what we typically get in this scenario is when the club makes impact to the ball, what we'll tend to see is when the ball is above your feet, the club is going to come in on we call what a slightly upright angle, okay? And what that means is that the toe of the club is sitting slightly higher than the heel. Now, this is a scenario that happens purely down to the slope. Now, there's a thing called face plane tilt, which is basically a complicated way of saying how the lie angle dictates the start direction of how the ball goes. So when we have an upright lie angle, which is something that we might have in this scenario very, very clearly to see with the ball above our feet, the chances are that the ball is going to start left of target line, okay? Now, the reason that is as we say, due to that lie angle, is how that affects the way that the ball starts. So what we've got to do when we've got this scenario is we've got to understand that analysis, not get too scared by it, but then what we've got to sort of think about is when we set up to hit this shot, we want to maybe be a little bit right of the target, okay? And that will allow us to have a little bit of a safety net to, if the ball does start to go left a little bit on us, we've made that adjustment in our setup, okay? So again, that's really, really key to do the sort of get the direction, but we've also got to understand our balance, and that's another really important thing when we're hitting really solid iron shots. So in this scenario, like we've got in front of us here, the ball is above our feet. Therefore, what we want to make sure that we do when we set up here is we want to try, as well as aim slightly right, is we want to try to have the weight in our toes, okay? And the reason being is because we want to try to keep ourselves grounded to the slope. What we don't want to do is have our normal setup. Because that ball is slightly above our feet, that gives us more weight in our heels, and that could then allow us to lose our balance, takes our dynamic setup out of position, and could really affect the strike, okay? So again, a little bit of analysis there on a couple of factors to think about, but how are we going to apply that into the shot? We're going to aim slightly right of target line. We're not going to be scared if we see the ball going slightly left. And more importantly, we're going to make sure that we have a little bit more percentage of weight in our toes to help us stay nice and balanced throughout the swing, and that should hopefully guarantee a nice strong strike and hopefully a really successful golf shot here. Okay, so if you don't mind, I want you to have a couple of practice swings, get yourself ready, try to feel that weight a little bit more in your toes, and then what we're going to do is we're going to proceed and see if we can hit a shot and try to see if those adjustments make a difference to how we need to hit those shots in the future, okay? So take your time, go through your warm-up, and we'll see if we can apply that here into a lovely iron shot.
So a little right of target.
Yep.
So like right side of green or just the blue?
I think here we can see the flag is on the left-hand side of the green. So I think if we aim something down the middle of the green, I think that would be a more than adequate adjustment, okay? Perfect. Lovely. And do you see that curvature where the ball is actually moving a little bit right to left there? And that is due to, like we said, the way that that club makes impact to the ground. And that was a really good example there of seeing how that curvature then implements into the shot. And we've actually hit a fantastic shot there, and that's going to be a really, really good opportunity birdie